Well, there's only us rabbits here, so let's talk rabbit talk. So recently I've been going through what you might call emotions, because it's my birthday season, and birthdays always remind you of one thing. What's that one thing? Death. Why? Because unless you get through your birthday, you're dead, right? Isn't it true? Well, sometimes I try and ignore it. I was never born. I'm just visiting this planet. I'm not going to be here long. Just got to get through it. But then birthdays come up to remind you, you are mortal. And they number them. On this planet, they number them. It's really wrong. On my planet, we don't have a number system. We just have, smiles. Like, you smile a lot, obviously you don't know. And that's what we want, not to know. I'll often embrace, it's called nescience. And in other cultures called neta, which is not knowing. And I think not knowing is very, very good. Because if you don't know, you're going to be smiling all the time. You don't worry about anything outside there. But if you don't smile, then you know that they're going to number you. And when they number you, you end up having a license, right? Just to drive. Crazy system. You have an ID card just to have a number. What's that mean? And then they get your numbers up. They put you in a school and they give you a number. You got 4 out of 5. No, I didn't. I got 4 out of 5. Because they're so real about numbers. Now, if you ask, where's the literature in this? Hermann Hesse. His best work, what was it called? Magus Deludi, the glass beacon. What? Yeah, it is a consummate thing. What's that got to do with it? Well, I used to hang on the street and give out poetry to people, right? I do wherever people gather, because my feeling is everyone's own poetry and they don't really want to know about. So I remind them that it's theirs, it's yours. This is yours, your poetry. Anyway, I was at the museum, a National Art Gallery, which is like a museum, and this little old lady, I give her the poetry, and I look and I think, wait a minute. I said, do you need a lift? She said, oh yeah, help me to the tram. I said, no, I'll get you where you're going. And she said, oh, they're on the high road. So they're the high roads. And I'm just leaving, and she said, oh, come on up, She's about 8, I'm talking old. I mean, number, forget the numbers, but she's still smiling, so that's why I'm talking to her. If you don't smile, I ain't going to talk to you. You're obviously part of the conspiracy. If you're not smiling, you're part of the conspiracy theorists, who are afraid because they can't smile. It all works together, it all links in together, but I digress. So she lives on the 19th floor. I go up the 19th floor, and I'm just about to leave, and she said, come in. And sort of like, okay, Hansel and Gretel, go to college, here we go. And I go inside, and this is the truth. From floor to ceiling was books. The whole place was full of books. And I'm just going, wow, sit down. She dropped 40 years just with that command, okay? I'm terrified to sit down. I was young, and I was prone to obedience at that stage. So I sat down, and she said, who's the best writer of the 20th century? I said, Hermann Hesse, Siddhartha, Narcissus and Goldwyn, and Magus Deludi. No! I said, who am I supposed to say? Thomas Mann, Magic Mountain, Death in Venice. And I said, Hermann. Look, she said, I slept with Hermann Hesse. You slept with Hermann Hesse? Don't be impressed, he slept with everybody. And she had 3 close friends. One was Spike Milligan of the Goons. Another one was Felix Verder, who's the music critic for the national newspaper in Australia. And the third was William Ricketts, who ran a rainforest sanctuary up in the Dandenong rainforest area outside Melbourne. She showed me letters from them. She was in the Dutch resistance. Her name was Dr. Ernestine Rothels. Now, she has gone to the great smile in the sky. And I do not lie when I tell you this, that life is a constant unfolding surprise. And you may as well smile, because we'll never know what's going to happen next. Example, we had a poet with glass shoe here, William Sickwick, right? And we were going featured at New World Delhi. It was a week after that he left, after his feature. It was he was never, I don't think he was featured at Rudamaya, but he was on the open mic, playing his harmonica like a dervish, and just putting energy out there, and racing around looking for a woman, and doing the usual, do your belt, look for trouble, it's all that stuff. But problem is, it's post-Zorba age. We're post-ennui, we're post-despair now. We're living in an age where all the philosophies are out of date, right? Anything you say has been said before by better people, and it's under surveillance anyway. You know? So you may as well, you know, if you're using Verizon or if you're using a laptop, just get used to the fact that all your poetry is going to be read. Like, for instance, did you know there was a person who had a job in the CIA, it's a true story, and his job was deciphering Osama bin Laden's poetry cassettes. Because what Osama was doing when he wasn't doing other stuff, liberating Afghanistan from the Russians or that, he was sitting around campfire, as we are, and doing poetry with his mates. And in Urdu and in Arabic, and he put it on cassette, and they got copies of the cassettes, and they were trying to find, was there a code? Was there a code in what he was saying? Yes, it's called imagination, dreaming, extending your universe, and linking to what's really important. Especially if you're sitting around the cave with hairy men all day long, because all the women have got, you know, masks and walls on. So, strange and true, Osama bin Laden was a poet. So was Ho Chi Minh. Really good poet, but a lot of people died, you know, when he had a few silly ideas. And Ho Chi Minh, wonderful poet. President Carter, terrible poet. President Bush,
wonderful human being.
President Bush, what's poetry? He's got a presidential library now too. His wife was a librarian, right? So now he'll be exposed to books. But the whole point of that is to bring back your smile, because it's one thing they can't really survey. They don't have spy satellites up there, and they might be monitoring every conversation you've got on your iPad or that, but they can't take your smile from you, no matter how much. You know, and they try so hard. The Beatles called it, right? They called it blue meanings. You know, it was also known for a drug too, but it was a bad drug, man. Authority and power and domination, possession and control doesn't work. Whereas poetry, music, art, harmony, graffiti, ideas, they do work because we understand them on a level other than verbal. We understand there's something going on here. It's called the divine conversation. And the divine conversation is, what's really true? How close can you get to it? In India, if a poem had what they call a golden line, where you spoke a line of truth, they'd say, hacha, hacha. And that means you're close. You haven't got there yet, but you're close. So my trust is that tonight we'll get as close as we can to the snark. We shall hunt the snark. If we need numbers, we're 42. This is the restaurant at the end of the universe. This is the last page of the internet. You have arrived. So welcome to your life. Steal this mic and let's have fun.
Gotta be fast.
Yeah.
You gotta be faster.
So they do it.
Some sort of song. This song? Can I turn this on? Gotta be fast. No, turn this on. I at this point have many lives that I'm leading. Some of them are dead people, some of them are living people, and sometimes they're very confused to agglomerations and amalgamations of many people. Stemming from reading dead poets to putting out books of dead poets.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
To speaking dead poets live.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do the best I can in the next 20 seconds to get all that out in the open, out of the way, so we can get on to the fun stuff. I'll do it this way. I wrote a letter today to a friend, and I told him he was feeling abysmal in a letter back to me, So I told him there's a place that I go to sometimes when my body is too heavy to carry. And don't fear yourself about what I'm going to say, but sometimes the weight of the world gets so heavy that I can't move my body anymore.
Wow.
I want to lay it down and disappear and not wake up, and so I'll lay down. My breathing gets more and more steady, more and more quiet, and I have a desire to blend entirely with it. My psychiatrist the other day said I'm putting myself into a corner. Perhaps. But there's a place that I arrive at once I've gone through that. And it's open and quiet and light. And there no longer is a single self, there's an all self. And the all self says, if you have to imagine your head resting on somebody and letting it all out, that's us. So I do, and I am empty, and still, and quiet, and calm, and at peace, and entirely loving. And then we as a whole all say, now I'm get out there and share what you just learned with everybody else. They could maybe use it. I told him that. It was right that I did. The truth that we approach is not one we keep with us. The greatest insights I've ever had have been when I've been absorbed by life. And yet, the nice little wonderful magic of it is that Spirit always says, I'm going to give you something to remember me by.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a wonderful, delicious, sweet, shining pleasure. And I want you to go share that pleasure and that joy with everybody else. There's a scene in Chariots of Fire where the girl says, but I fret for you. And he says, don't fret yourself, Jenny. Because when I run, I feel God's pleasure. To me, that's what poetry is. When you are so enraptured and so sharing and so giving, there's no longer a you, it's an us. And we are sharing it. And it's not that we never arrive at truth, because this is it. This is truth. This is where we arrive at Fuller's Cafe on Saturday night. But it's that something comes out of it that goes into our ears and our bodies and our skin and our life that we remember, and we can say, y'all should be there too. We want y'all to come, and we're going to relate to you the love we felt and the joy we felt. And maybe we'll make you a world a better place.
This is my friend Joy, and she's worthy of her name. She's just got back from England.
I did. Where are you sitting?
I'm sitting right here. Come on, guys, girls, possums. Okay, I'll do it. It's only quick. Who's got a guitar?
I need to learn. Get quick or dead. Let me praise Joy. But she won't. She's the most modest person I know. What happened is, she lived out of Austin, which is a very sensible thing these days, because Austin costs a fortune, right? And she was in Temple, and she decided, well, why don't we have poetry in Temple? Found the Temple poets, and with Maury, who wasn't with us anymore, a long time ago, 15 years or more. Okay, in Zoe's coffee shop.
95 is when it started.
Yes, it was. And the link to the Austin International Poetry Festival, realizing the trick is, start things where you are. Wherever you are is poetry. Wherever you are is art. Whatever you do is going to be new, because they're not doing it, obviously. Otherwise, you'd find it and connect to it and be part of it, as you are tonight. So Joy did that for years and years, putting out anthologies, having open mics, having festivals. Temple International Poetry Festival. I was part of the slam thing in England at the Cheltenham Festival, and I found a poet there called MC Jabba. MC Jabba is an astonishing human being. He's a DJ. He worked with a dance company in Denmark, and he had a record on the top 10 in Denmark, right? But he was a genius, because he was a non-materialist. He had nothing. I picked him up from the airport, and he had one bag. And I said, what's in the bag? He said, my new book. He had no clothes. Yeah, that's the sort of purity he had. And he was in the same clothes for 2 weeks in Texas. But he knew. And in the end I said, where's your book? He said, I didn't have time to get here. I'm going to throw it away. I said, you can't throw poetry away. I'll put it together and I'll give it away. So I saved them all together and gave them away. That was Love Turtle, which no copies remain anymore unless they're in the heart and soul of other people. But Joy was part of a truly local, powerful, loving group of people who were really kind to each other. Afterwards, we'd go back to Maury's place or to, what's her name? Lily's house. And people give each other massages, and they feed each other, you know what I mean, like human beings used to do. And these days, we've got full English where people behave in a human way, but I know I have to tell you about this because it was a long time ago. And a lot of those have left us. Lily's still around, but doesn't get out much. 2 or 3 of them have died, and Joy loves England. I mean, truly, viscerally loves. When she went last year or the year before, she sent back on Facebook incredible photographs of the sheep that she ate. And I know, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I was the people she met, and the Lake District, and all the beautiful things that make England a place to escape from if you want to. Get me off this island. But she returns whenever possible. And the other thing I really love her for is priorities are right. It was last year. She went to England, saved up all the money, because you go to England, it's like parking meter. You know, you're throwing your money, choo, 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 choo. And just as she gets there, her father was ill, right? So she gets on the next plane back to Texas. Never saw a thing except the airport. That is true freedom. That's true love, that's true priorities, and that's joy.
That's so sweet.
That's true, isn't it?
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I have no poetry prepared. I come with what I have, and what I have right now is my scratch journal. I journal online, but my really good stuff goes on paper. And I decided, because I have no poetry with me except in my heart, in my mind, and somewhere on these pages. So basically, what I'm going to do is just read a few things that actually seem to make sense, and yeah, so I'm just going to go. Thursday, May 23rd, 9:52 p.m. Oh, damn. Yeah, I can't read my own handwriting, you know. I should have been a doctor, you know. That's enough to make anybody laugh. Something also charming about a young lady drinking ice white wine, speaking with authority in color and drink-fueled vulgarity about European pop circus acts and Scandinavian strangeness in particular. Such passion for a tiny nation kissed by Arctic winds and the ghostly waves of the Aurora Borealis, septuagenarian dance princesses and babushki, barely a hint of feminine familiarity about them. Get up and dance, boom, boom. Horror movie figures, faux sepulchral skulls and spikes and armor, the Walking Dead cast out from Valhalla to give sanitized Europop an even worse reputation with a hard rock hallelujah. A perfect marriage of simple elegance and poetic journalism, clean impressionistic lines and font that harkens to a seemingly innocent time, like resurrected paper ghosts of Jack London and writers of his ultimate reputation, weaving tales that comfort and excite and beckon and embrace the reader in a cradle of nature, man in conflict with himself and the wilderness, man finding his place within himself and the wilderness. Watched over by the reclining hunter of the night sky, Orion the father figure, guide, indifferent wanderer of time, with the post-apocalyptic blue marble of planet Earth spinning beneath his sandals of light, healing itself with ravaging pandemics, a metaphorical flood. Each human survivor an ark unto himself, burying a menagerie of experience, shame, regret, aching memories shrouded by melancholic beauty. The impressions and the creative energy I might have missed if I had merely retreated to a back room and hid myself away from the vague and harsh realities of the world.
Yay!
Oh, if your dog can listen to all the time.
Which mic did you use? Which mic did
It's a Gmail.
No. Which mic?
That looks disobedient.
Oh, I didn't use either of them yet.
I don't have anything new.
Well, you to her. That's it.
Can you flex your poetry? Bend the knee, then touch poetry's composite or composition to bear down upon groundbreaking vibrations that pray deep inside the universe heartbeats of forevermore. Within that seated germination, bearing a poet's true dedication. Their inner strength and souls riding upon the grains of time that spreads the turd power upon all the terses of time, of rhyme. That staining rain of celestial fibers by direct cerebral current winds, that weathers abrasions onto reincarnation being well defined. That phoenix of poetry that flames alive poetic masterpieces, reaching inside deep depression of dynamic spectrum emotion, that then implode each stanza as the time continuum centerpiece, that blossoms to fruition of great inspiration draw poetic motion. Sail, poet, sail. Fill that divine mind to levitate seashore lines that ripples the poet's universe within that genuine flexion of faith that will spread poetry's core composition, sharing a universe of individual sentences, distinctions of inspirational verb structures that rise to direct poetics to genuflect a poet's dream into the poetry masterpiece of existence.
Here's Joy. Here's Joy.
I don't hardly ever come out to venues anymore.
I know, but you did that.
It's been a while. So since I'm here, I'll do a couple of my England. It's
Oh, yeah.
So for, I don't know how many of you know, but Cumbria, the Lake District in England, is probably one of the most beautiful places on earth.
It is.
So this is called Cumbria. There is a waterfall running down a rock face in Cumbria that I see in my dreams. Lichen-covered rocks and fern fronds tickling my feet as I bend to look at myself in the water below. It calls to me, this ancient land, this tribal land. In spite of politics, unemployment, and war, there is peace here in my mind, in Cumbria. I sit in awe at the waterside at Buttermere. I take the ferry on Derwentwater and Coniston. I avoid Windermere like the plague because tourists have encroached, and I am not a tourist. I live here constantly on the water's edge, gazing up at the mountains surrounding me, praying for one dry day so that I might hike down the road past the boats and the waterfalls into time. And I have never been to Holy Island, never.
Never?
Never. It's always been on my bucket list, but I've got a form. I look out over Lindisfarne, hailing the new morning, feeling the breeze of centuries gone, lived and breathed and died again and again. Holy Island, I live on your shore. My wings are buried in your ruins. My spirit walks the lonely hills and beaches, looking outward to the sea. The beauty of your curved shores, the anger of your winter winds, the solace of your tender earth guide me home. I've seen it from the train.
Wow.
Can I do one more? I don't know how.
Do whatever you want.
Okay.
Strict rule.
Oh, strict rule. Anything we want. This is the last one though. It's called Britain If I Die. If I die, take my heart to Britain. Leave me in the waters of the canal at Camden Market. Scatter me in the West End and sip wild strawberry tea from Fortnum and Mason. We're opening a new store.
Yes, I saw you.
If I die, leave me on Castle Head, take a spontaneous trip to Conway, and place me in the gardens at Port Byron. Keep my memory at York Minster and the little hill overlooking Ripon Cathedral. If I die, walk to the top of the White Horse Cliff and sift me to the winds. Have lunch at the pub and say a toast to love. Leave me at Queensview among the mountain heather of the Highlands and the streets of Pitlochry. If I die, let there be bagpipes and high roads and rejoicing. For it was a brief time here, and I will spend eternity in the land I loved.
Yeah.
This is after I wrote my will. Spread my actual will.
How expensive is the trip?
It depends on what you do
That's true.
and how you travel.
Yep.
This last one was a very expensive one, and I traveled in style.
Yeah.
Do I know an English song? Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she doesn't have a lot to say. Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she changes from day to day. I want to tell her that I love her a lot, but I kind of got a belly full of wine. Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, someday I'm going to make her mine. Oh yeah, someday I'm going to make her mine. Boom. The Beatles. Anyway. A lovely bunch of coconuts. Nothing like that. This is one of my latest poems that Thom has heard a dozen times.
Doesn't matter. I like
Doesn't matter. And it's one that I lost a few weeks ago.
What?
Yes, when my Kindle Fire crashed and I had to get another one under warranty. So I had to recreate it. So I went online and looked up all the words that I had put in before, and I remembered all the little comments that I put in each line. And I'm still remembering things that I had left out when I recreated it, but I think I've got it now. Whoops. It's I wrote it on a kind of a rainy day, and it's called Soups. On days such as this, I console myself by recalling the 1,000 names for soup. There's ajiaco, a chicken soup from Colombia. There's bisque, borscht, bouillabaisse, bouillon, caldo, cazuela, chili, chowder, kakaliki, Scottish potato and leek soup, dashi, egusi, and fufu from Nigeria, gazpacho, that's the Spanish secret police, gumguk, Korean, goulash, Hungarian, menudo, made from former boy band members, gumbo, you know gumbo, minestrone, pozole, pho, that's Vietnamese for pho, ramen, snert, Dutch of course, stew, vichyssoise, hey my potato soup is cold, waterzui, Belgian natch, and zurich, which is a Polish wheat soup with sausages often served in a bowl made of bread. For now, these are all the soups I can stir up. I probably shouldn't mention gravy or syrup. Whimsy is so hard.
I think it struck me the other day about how, you'll pick up on a tone over, you'll be you'll be in a venue and someone will be talking and you'll go, oh, and then the lines start going through your head and you're like, oh, that sounds cool, I want to do that one. And then you're so fixated on the one you're working on that 3 points later it's your time and it doesn't fit in anymore. I did that at Ruta Maya the other night and I was thinking about a death poem and somebody got up there 3 poems later and said, no, I was thinking about girls, but he's talking about death, maybe I should talk about death again. So I'll do the best I can. This is something I was thinking earlier that I think works. Teleport yourself for a moment to the days when we would all sit in sandboxes and play to our heart's content. And in our enrapture with the sand and the people next to us and their diapers, we would stuff fistfuls upon fistfuls of sand into our mouths. Our folks would sit by aghast. Take it out, spit out, you're going to hurt your teeth or your gums. We have come so far since those days when we could hold sand. And I think to the farmers or those during the Depression whose dirt wilted up and dried beneath them. But if you will, remember the feeling of the earth and your fingers in it and how you can mash it sometimes and make clumps. And if you squinch it together, it all disappears. It's hard to remember Mother Earth when all around us is concrete and electricity and mics and chairs. It's been so long since we sat in our sandboxes or in a field of grass and just admired the dirt and what grows out of it. We all came from that a long, long, long time ago. We grew out of the earth, and to this day human beings are still growing out of the earth. The earth in their mother's wombs, and then born into the world. I almost want to take a field trip and take us all outside and run amongst the grass and grab dirt and say, this is what it's all about. This is what grows from this. And I know the quiet place in a poet's heart is just that. It's raw. And this is one of my favorite words that I've written about before. It's lone. Lone.
Yeah.
Rich, dark, rich, real lone. What a beautiful, yeah, you can just feel the stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff grows from it. I'm so happy to be a child of Mother Earth. Thank you.
He's right, you know. You think of something someone's saying, and you think, I've got a perfect response to that. And someone else gets up and, they go to Latvia. I've got a perfect Latvian poem. And they go to Estonian. I got the best Estonian poem ever. And then they're talking about rainbows. And your whole mind goes rainbow. What you were saying at the start was you were going to tell us about the fact that you're involved in the publishing of William Sickwitt's poetry posthumously. William came here, went to Rudamaya, New World Delhi, killed himself. Don't do it. Maybe poetic, but you can't do it twice unless you're really incompetent. And his sister came here, out the back with the family, in a circle, lovely, joyous, happy people. All of us asking the same question. Why couldn't he just reach out, we're here, and actually ask for what he needed? Which was response. I don't know if you've seen that thing on Facebook about the woman with the nail in her head. It's all over Facebook, you've seen it, you know. So there's this woman with a nail in her head, and they're having a conversation, the boyfriend and her. And she's saying, you know, I get this pain. I don't know what to do. And he's nodding, and I really, when he says, excuse me, you got a nail in your head? Look, I don't need to be reminded of that. And it's all about how what people really need is to be heard. It's a response, not the cure. Okay? The response sometimes is the cure. But I digress. In July sometime, she put her own money into it, so it will happen. The sister of William Sickwitt, Sydney Lanier, is putting the book of poetry out. It'll be launched at the venues. And I said, look, we haven't sold books of poetry since, you know, umpteen. No one buys poetry. We just restore poetry back to the conversation. And she said the magic words, I don't care. I want him to be heard and honoured for the quality of his being and the quality of his productivity. Perfect. So there's going to be a book. Thanks to Scott, he's got all sorts of audio visuals of William in performance, photographs of him with his harmonica at Rudamaya, which no longer exists, and all the things that we know are true, which aren't true when you go. So don't rely on poetry to speak for you when you're gone, because it'll be someone else, and they'll always edit. So that was that. Then Cumbria. Twice I've been to Cumbria. First was, there were these wild, many years ago, there were these two wild women. We went up and we were in a caravan in the Lake District. And there were storms everywhere. And I always remember the storms around the lake, because we went to Wordsworth Cottage, Dove Cottage and that. And even then the tourists were ruining the area, right? Wordsworth was a conservationist. He did not want people to go in his area, the Lake District. He did not want them tromping and tramping. So they tromp and they tromp and they tramp. And they come in their buses on these tiny thin roads, these snail trails, tracks, and they take photographs of Dove Cottage, and the chair where William Wordsworth wrote Prelude and wrote, you know, the world is too much with us, late and soon getting, spending we lay waste our days, all we see in nature that is ours. They sit in that chair, and they're not supposed to, I did, and I am that tourist, you know. One time, when the person I loved left me, I shaved off all my hair, right? And I'm on a bus, and I get off the bus in, I think it was, where did Elvis die? He died on stage a lot, but he died, Memphis. I'm getting off the Greyhound Memphis, and I've got a shaven head, and I'm wearing slightly colourful clothes. Immediately the police after me. I say, excuse me, I'm not a terrorist, I'm a tourist. In the broadest Australian accent I could do, and that, even them, they had to laugh, you know. Have you ever seen a police dog laugh? But I digress. Cumbria, the second time, was again in a caravan. My friend Lynette Shaw McCone, wonderful Scottish poet, she lived in Cumbria. She lived in this little cottage, in this little caravan, right, in and near the railway line, you can see the railway going, past as it does. And these hills, beautiful, and the clouds over the hills. And she absolutely had a physical love for Cumbria. She absolutely adored the wildness of it. Like friends of mine get their rocks off on Dartmoor and Cornwall, but she got her rocks off on Cumbria. And I tried to see what she loved about rain and cold, wet, and I couldn't get it. I like comfort, but I understand you love Cumbria and she loves Cumbria. There's two sensitive poets who love Cumbria, and that'll have to be enough. There's a third distraction, but that'll have to be me.
I'd like to say an early happy birthday to Thom,
Thank you.
because I won't be here for your actual birthday. Thank you.
You're here now.
But I started going to open mics, and I sang my songs and read my poetry, which I had written back in the 70s, maybe some in the 80s. And I hadn't written anything in years, and I thought, well, I'm not really a poet. I wrote some poems and they're okay, but I haven't written, any in this century. So, but Thom talked me into going to this event in Salado, Texas, where I already had friends. They produced one of my plays there and the CD of the music from the musical. And Salado is I don't know if you know it very well, but it's a cool little artist community town. They have wine tastings, and they're always having street fairs of one kind or another. It's a beautiful little town. And they have a creek going through it, Salado Creek. I know other places it's actually pronounced Salado, but in Salado it's Salado. There's a Salado Creek in San Antonio, actually. And there is a legend, which I forget exactly, about a mermaid in the creek and the magic catfish. And someone sculpted a little mermaid and catfish, that sculpture that was in the creek, and then floods came along and damaged it. So this event was to raise money to recast the sculpture. They already had the mold. They needed to recast the sculpture. And so people were asked to maybe read mermaid poems or write a poem for the occasion. So the significance of this to me is that this is the first poem I had written in the 21st century, and it's all because of Thom there. So I say all that just in case you don't like the poem. So. And I put everything. Why am I popping my peas here? Hello. So I put everything I knew about that area in the poem. My mother actually grew up just a few miles from there in the Granger Holland area, if you know that area, Lee County. And she lived on a farm outside of a little community called Friendship, which for the last 30 or 40 years has been at the bottom of Lake Friendship. So you can't really go back and visit. But her mother, my grandmother, when she was living in Austin, when I was little, would bake this wonderful dewberry cobbler, not blueberry, dewberry. Do you know dewberries?
Oh man, I love dewberries.
I've never had them anywhere but in her cobblers, which were wonderful. I can still taste it to this day, and it's been, 30, 35 years, since she died. And when I went back to visit in Salado a few months ago, before this event here, they had some kind of little street fair, and they had bees. They had a beehive, and you could look in and see the bees going. And down by the creek, they had these little berry vines, and I tried a couple, and they were dewberries.
Oh, yeah.
So of course that's that's where they would have gotten, my grandmother would have gotten them because it was her home area. So I put all that, everything I knew about Salado being a big stagecoach stop just before Austin. They have the stagecoach inn there. And the creek, which, you know, still is clear like a glass of water. You know, you don't see that anymore because of all the nitrates that the algae love so much. So anyway, this introduction, of course, is longer than the poem, but that's the background of it too. So you'll understand kind of what's going on in it. Come home to us. Come home to us, little mermaid, for all of us have missed you here. I've seen you in past times in that clear glass of water, Salado Creek, following a merciful spring shower. Come home to us with your magic catfish. Bless this quaint hamlet with your fishy spirit. Stay with we mortals and swim that lucid stream beside the wild dewberry vines, the fruit of which furnished grandmother's cobbler long since tasted. Inhabit that chill brook where coaches of old stopped for drink for horses and for our forebears. Beguile us again with your beatific whimsy. Let us project on you our ancient lore. Let play in our souls your mythic fancy. Be like your distant sister beside the harbor in wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen. Beckon us to your water's edge to drink in your essence of hope. Thank you.
Yeah. So this will probably be the only chance I get to actually talk to Thom. I can tell you I'm not going to make your birthday
I know,
here, and
no,
I
it's
told
okay.
you I would.
No problem, you're here now.
Well,
Here now.
but you were talking about
Yeah.
somebody committing suicide a minute ago.
Yes, I was. His
And,
friend. Yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Sit quick, yeah.
My best friend from junior high, I mean, all these decades we've been friends, and her son-in-law just committed suicide last week.
Well, son-in-law is a bit distant, but you know.
Well, not for her. So I'm going to have to go down next week.
Yeah, that's
and see
important.
her. I wanted to know that. So Thom also knows that I was at one time hanging around this great poet named Dr. Marvin Kipper.
Oh, yeah.
And then there were other people in our sort of circle. He was talking about Maury also with the Temple Poets, and we have several fallen poets. And I wrote, "Poets are dying." There is something scaring me as much as the war in Iraq, as much as the oil in the Gulf, as much as Washington politicians. Poets are dying. I was witness to the birth of Austin consciousness. Thank you, Thom. Chicago House and Spider House and AIPF. It started with Pasha and Albert H. Others. There were years of lively chanting poet prayers, howling at the moon, watching as soul after soul discovered itself. Flowers all opening. I want to hold you, but you slip between my fingers. Christina, Maury, Charles, Byron, Jackie, Lily, Christian, and I put them because they were sort of on their way. They were sort of in transition. And then Dr. Marvin passed away. I'm running down the path after you, screaming, "Stop!" at the top of my lungs, but one by one you vanish over the hill, leaving only your fairy dust for us to follow.
Yeah.
And I was watching it with your Kindle, and so, this one's called Mac Madness. I was thinking today how nice it would be to communicate with my friends on an iPhone. Not to have to worry whether work would see me clandestinely log into my email account from one of their workstations. With an iPhone, I could load apps and games to my heart's content. I went to the Mac store once and held an iPad. It called to me so sweetly. "Buy me," it said. "I will make your life so much more interesting." It's a siren song. Sirens were sea nymphs who charmed anyone who heard them through their singing, and then once under their spell, the mariners were told to cast themselves into the sea, into their ultimate doom. In Ulysses, he avoids this unhappy circumstance by placing wax in his ears to prevent hearing the song. I couldn't find any wax. I just stared spellbound as I turned the iPod vertically and horizontally and made things bigger and smaller. I played the piano and read the news. Someone stop me, my brain screamed. The evil Mac people had long ago implanted iPad technology into our cell phones. My friends all urged me to get one. I had seen its evil intention to force me to succumb to its gadgety ways, to prevent me from going outside and into the sunlight and forests, to keep me occupied and texting or reading or playing games while I and my friends lapsed into one-on-one communication-free zones. Yes, iPads and iPhones are the devil's playthings, just as television and ordinary cell phones are. I remember times many years ago, before computers, before cell phones, times when you could get Cracker Jacks in a box, and a real toy came inside, not those crappy tattoos. Days of Chico sticks, remember those? Yeah, they have those still. You can find them some places. Peanut patties, those wax Coca-Cola bottles filled with some colored liquid and tasted kind of like Kool-Aid. We made forts and foxholes. We went crabbing and bike riding. We spent long summer days at the pool or the beach. We had personal verbal exchanges, no gadgetry involved.
Yeah.
Some folks may say I'm living in the past. It's not so much that as it is trying to come to terms with what's happening in today's society through the use of high tech. Our kids are, for God's sake, sitting next to each other and texting.
Yeah.
They even have national texting contests. I wonder what's next. Should we just put our minds into some kind of tin helmet and let a scientist suck our brains into a jar on a counter somewhere? Not me, baby. No iPhone or iPad for me. I'm going for a chicken stick. I wrote this a couple of years ago, and I have an Android.
Of course you do. Happens over time.
Thank you, guys.
Did I just hear a chicken? No. In the word.
Chico sticks.
Chico stick.
They taste like Butterfingers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, you don't know these people, so I need to explain the people she was talking about. Dr. Malvin Kimbrough was on the faculty of Houston Tillotson College, and she was in, when I first came to this town, there were only 3 clumps of poets. Resistencia, revolutionary poets, and that bookstore is still down there in the South Coast. Raul Salinas
You know
is
where that
past.
is?
Yeah. Second was Chicago House, which is still called Chicago House, but it's now a college bar. That's a corner of 6th and Trinity, where 2 wonderful women had poetry upstairs, music downstairs, two stages all the time. And the third one was Houston Tillotson, where the people at Houston Tillotson, the women on the faculty, were aware of the Harlem Renaissance. So they were keeping poetry alive for their own community. And Dr. Malvin Kimbrough was the most extraordinary mind, most extraordinary generosity of spirit. And as she was slowly leaving, it was Joy who was her constant visitor and constant support and constant sort of like link to all that. It was something, a lot of people say you can't find words for it. I don't believe it. I think there are words for it. But it is difficult to express grief when an exceptional soul is no longer around. Just to explain, whenever she would come into a room, she would actively make friends with everyone. She would actively go up to people and be positive, loving, kind, outreaching, without no fear in her soul whatsoever. She was total love. And she was also really, really intelligent. And her poetry, well, I'll just do a quick one. This is just a version of one of hers. Black folks got cockroaches in slums and squats. White folks don't have cockroaches. Them water beetles.
That's right.
And she had another one about the sporty women sitting by the side, and she wants to grow up to be a sporty woman, you know. And by that she means women of the night. And it was a beautiful, beautiful conveying of poetry for people that didn't require a mental thing to decipher. Okay, the other ones you mentioned, well, Dr. Malvin really stood out. Her friend for many years, Floyd Freeman, is also gone. And I think he went first, didn't he? And he had a very famous poem about grits. I don't want no one-day grits. I don't want no instant grits.
I want grits that go plop, plop, plop in the pot, pot, pot. That's just a abbreviation one, right? So these were exceptional people, and the same thing is happening. The beautiful souls are leaving, and so I urge you all, stay in your skin, because the adventures are still happening. We don't know what's going to happen next. Usually it's going to be a beautiful surprise. So just like tonight, we don't know what's going to happen next, but respond with everything you've got, because it can take us all further.
I'm not really going up. Come on. I'm just checking out the equipment here.
Oh, equipment, huh? Uh-huh.
I'm gonna need something for my hands to do while I do this, so I'm gonna play guitar while I'm Hopper, and we have nothing. So, let's see how we do this. Can y'all hear me okay? I'll just do this without
Do you need this one for your guitar?
I wish I had it.
This work?
Maybe too much to ask. Let's do this one for my guitar.
That makes more sense.
Let's try to do more.
There you go, almost done.
This is for your mouth.
There you go. Engineering.
The technology it takes to get a point across. Joy, one thing you don't know or you may not be aware of is this is all going out live through the internet. And yeah, I hope that's okay. And if the sound at least, not the video, the sound. And then after in about, hey man, hey, good to see Chris. It's Chris, right? Chris. And then in about a week or so, mission is for your part, I'll be posting audio and videos of
I
it.
know.
And if you pick up one of those little flyers on my table over there, right there, it has all the information about where to get the links and stuff like that. Good, I want Thom to come back, so we need some more support. It'd be stupid of me to like, and this is why I think so many of us get our inspiration from Thom, because he kind of tells you what you're supposed to do, and I love him so much for that. And as any good master and any good teacher, you exceed him in some things violently for others. And one of the points he's trying to make to me, or at least my interpretation of it, is it's stupid for me to try to ignore the whole damn thing. So I got to do something about it. Or at least say all things. And I know it takes a lot of courage. And what I'm hoping most from my speech on the 25th is any words thereabouts. There are a couple of points. One, make friends as soon as you possibly can. Make it instantaneous and love everybody you're with or at all times. That's the first lesson. I'm building something by here, by the way. The other is what the people who have passed represent to us and what they mean. William meant something very specific to me. He meant a playfulness for words and a love of language, but also a sense of compassion and a desire to put everybody at ease. And being friends with anybody at all times takes being at ease with them. I'm getting to the point here in a second. What I hope to teach people, or at least allow people to do, is the benefits, if any, from his book will go to the animal shelter and suicide prevention network. But if any of the audience members who ever see me perform or talk about him get anything out of it, I hope it's they allow themselves to be opening up for suicidal people to reach out to them. Because one thing you can do all your life is counsel somebody, man, when you're in trouble, reach out to us, reach out to us, reach out to us. Which is what I'm going to do now. And sometimes the greatest courage is not having the courage to reach out, but having the courage to let other people help you. He died in August, and the aftermath fucking almost killed him. And it's all come back up again when we got his book coming out. And my lives are a huge mix of people these days. The importance of looking for a job, so to speak, that people say I need, but being conscious of that entity that tells me what to do, I'm paying as much realism to it as I can and abiding by its wishes. People leave us all the time, and I heard a great line one time. My brother was reading a book, and some baseball player a long time ago said when somebody died, they went to join the great majority, which about sums it up. I mean, 5 billion people on the planet, but billions upon billions of people who have died. We're all those guys, walking around, sharing as best we can. And some of you didn't know William, but Brian, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad Thom's here, Joy, Ben, Chris. Death is such a quiet thing. The way I describe birthdays is laps. I'm coming up on my 46th lap around sun. Sometimes it feels like nothing but love in here, and you want it to last. I'm glad y'all are here, and I'm glad William's here.
This is only a test, so anyone else wants to come up, please. If there's been an actual emergency, you would have been directed.
Is she ready? Okay. You are. Button wants to work. How many do you want to? You have to hold it.
Yep, I will hold it and let me
Whatever you want to do, that's the rule.
if you want to stand straight, I can put this back. So you want to stand up like normal, okay? Get ready?
Test it, see if the microwave.
Let's say something.
Hello.
Hey. Let's see how it sounds. Just want to get the rest of the relatives to know what to do. You want to leave me alone? Here she comes. Okay, let me listen.
My name is Grace, and
Excellent. Grace. But she'll be back.
Is this the first time she's ever been?
Yeah.
Wow, that was great.
There. You want to play?
All right. She wants to come back. She does. She will. She will. So Grace, you watch what adults do. There's no going to top that. That was pretty amazing. That amazing Grace was really top of the the Scottish bards. So poets, why are you singing there? Come on. Come on. Yeah. There you are. Amazing Grace. Literally.
How long has she been playing?
Yeah, how long have you been playing? 3 years?
Yeah.
She started when she was a little baby.
But this is her first public performance.
Oh, wonderful. Every Saturday night. Come back. Don't go away.
And this is my first public performance. I'm sure I can. No, I'll do this one. No, I'll do that. This is a song of joy from the heart of a simple boy. So beautiful the song, and the heavenly voice to sing it, like an ever-ready bell with a skillful hand to ring it. That which we seek, let us find. That which we've learned, let us teach. Let us share from the heart, from the mind, and thus gain the wings we would reach. Let us be not ruled by hate, not be jealous, not blame, not compete. Reason tells us, cooperate, and thus shed the chains from our own feet. Let us grow with one aim, to be whole. Let us treat everyone with respect. Look within, to connect with the soul, move in focus, stand firm and direct. Let us live full of joy and guilt-free. Giving back will carry us on, further by far than we can see, with no limits to what can be done. So stand up there and ring that bell.
will? Oh, okay. Well, I was pretty much the same way for Sunday, so.
So we have very, very strict rules here. That is, whatever you want to do, you have to do it. You can't just sit there, because that's old-fashioned. We've got no space for an audience. We haven't got space for an audience. We've only got space for activists and poets and musicians of the future. So come on, steal the mic.
Something is watching this imperishable harmony and is calculating your tactful honor, pinching the angelic hero with a rumor above your head. It is as if something were designed with flagrant heat from a wonderful fire and courageously raised. You are splitting down those fibers of love with an architecture of fragmented spools, yearning for a remembrance on the fabric in time. Watch and learn what phantom paradox will collide with the immaculate friends standing transformed by that flagrant heat. It was chastised because of this philosophic quest. Now it is just sown with something outside the walls of your immaculate friend's home.
I wanted to come up here before you left, because it takes me back to when I learned violin back in the 1950s. 9 years old. They had something at the University of Texas. I don't know if you go to the University of Texas Junior String Project. I think they still have it, but that's what they had back then. And I was in the junior high and high school orchestra. Junior high was what they call middle schools now. And if I was as good when I finished being in the high school orchestra as you are now, I would have stayed with it. I still have, I played viola. I started off on the violin, and they were starting a new orchestra, and they needed violas, so I played viola after that. But I still have my viola. I take it out every decade or so. My parents about 10 years ago gave me a new bow, hoping to encourage me to bring it out. However, they gave me a bow about the size of your bow, and it's too short for somebody as big as me. But one of these days I'm going to get a new bow, rosin it up, and play my viola again. But thank you for reminding me of that, and you were very good. Try this. Suzuki method back then either. So while we're waiting, so what can I do this? It's short. It's not April, but I could do this anyway. Wander up early with a shore sota. The draft of March had pierced to the rota. And bothered every vein and swishly curvich virtue engenders a flood. when the zephyrs ache with his sweaty breath, in spirit hath in every holt and peg, the tender crop is on the younger son, hath in the ram his half a course of run. And younger follows macan melody, the schlippen on the dict with up in eve. So pricketh in nature and near courageous along with folk to go on pilgrimages. And palmers for to say his strongest and fairly always with the sundry longest. And especially from every sheriffs in New England to Canterbury in the windy. The holy blissful martyr for to say it, when that hymn had opened, when that they were singing. Thank you. It's English anyway, Jeffrey Chaucer. But the amazing thing is how much the language changed between Chaucer and Shakespeare in just about 200 years, and actually how little it has changed from Shakespeare to our modern times. It was just kind of getting gelled in between the English and the French influences. Song in my musical chanteuse. This is the time. Unfortunately, I don't know the words, so let me try another one. David Carey. Davy Carey took her wife as easy as you please, and by the pond he took her life and lay her neath the trees. Oh Davy, why'd you do this deed, your lovely bride to slay, and bring to end her 16 years upon her wedding day? The law will be upon you now, you'll hang for what you've done, your body twisting in the breeze and drying in the sun. I know not why I took her life, she was my treasury, but one so pure upon this earth was never meant to be. The father of Davy's bride, he found her where she lay, in sorrow he vowed to ride till Davy was paid. Said he, she was my pride and joy, I warned her not to wed, nor take up with that Carey boy, and now she's lying dead. The father ran our Davy down a clearing in the trees, a noose made he of the wedding gown, hanged Davy in the breeze. So Davy Carey met his end, his hasty crime to pay, he wed and killed, was caught and hanged, all on his wedding day. Thank you. A little morbid, perhaps.
But I like morbidity.
Oh, there you go.
I truly do. Lovecraft fan. Cthulhu 2016. Alright, so I have no like poetry per se. Did I already say that? Yeah, whatever. So I'm just reading impressions, usually like I'm in transit, whip out pen and composition book and write just whatever comes out. And at the time I wrote this, I was about a third of the way through a wonderful book by Peter Heller called The Dog Stars. And I missed my chance to meet him. He had an in-store at Book People a couple of weeks ago. And it really is a wonderful, wonderful book, and I strongly urge you to go read it. It deserves every bit of praise that people give it. So I was tired, and other things going on, and I had just finished reading this chapter, or reading the first third of the book, where a beloved character passes on quietly in the cold Colorado night, and sometimes when a piece of art touches you in a particular way, you have to sit with your thoughts and your feelings, and just kind of soak it in. If you are engaged in what you're listening to or what you're reading, really suspend your disbelief and dive into that piece of work. Well, you know what? I'm just going to read. Friday, May 24th, 8:55 a.m. Woof. Let out a soft breath. Close the book. Hold it gently in my hands and my lap. Straighten my back. Look out the window to my left. The dull brownish gray stucco-on brick, the asphalt, the wildflower splashes of color of billboards and cars. No brightness. The sky is silvery and overcast. Everything seeming frozen and still, given life by this bus rolling in motion, humming and groaning and wheezing like a dragon. I sit quietly, try to ignore conversational mutterings around me, the metallic blare of the pre-recorded voice, male announcing, "Stop, requested." Blandly announcing intersections and connecting routes, no excitement, just enough energy to alert passengers from their own pre-vocal morning reverie. I notice it all, soak it in, and let it go as this boxy steel tube rumbles forward on its way, mindless, uncaring. That distant look to my eyes, hidden behind smoky brown $20 sunglasses, not really seeing anything. Passive sensors upon the world, as I just as passively turn my gaze inward. Notice my physiological response to a fictional event, given the inert black squiggle stamped upon dun white paper, pages rough, substantial, a comforting texture beneath fingertips. The words infused with the breath of life, something the human brain recognizes even from such an artifact as this. Within. That sense of familiarity, comfort, even attachment to things, events, people, places, feelings. That while in a fictional piece, all have relevance, all have a shared reality, all are, even though they aren't. New inhabitants in a new Garden of Eden, as it were, an experiment. Can the unreal be made real? Analogs of what and who is already known and recognized in the real world. The this and that, the now. I sit and breathe quietly, and I notice my eyes moisten with loss, a crack appearing in the barrier between real and unreal. I immediately recognize the loss as if it were my own, and in a sense, it has become my loss. And I want to sit with my feelings and grieve and reflect. But there is a chatter and rumble and whirl of other lives, other realities around me, commerce and transit and human interactions. Music meant to lend an air of hipness to a bland corporate environment. Hiss and clang of machinery, preparing beverages meant to infuse energy. Voices loud with alerts. False and professional, cheery directness, clusters of self-importance, and inferred control over environment, false constructs, other people. It's loud, intrusive, and reverberating, invasive. I want my space and my silence. I want my solitude. And it's a constant restlessness, resentment, dissatisfaction with my current options for, well, damn near everything that is a current factor in my life. It feels like I'm swept along by inertia right now. So goddamn frustrating. The whispers that proclaim their victory and free will. The victory over free will and self-identity. The noise, please. Everything and everybody, leave me the fuck alone so I can feel and think and act for myself. Thank y'all very much. And now, breakfast, sort of. I'm wondering if I should continue with that because there were some other things that were kind of And this is still like this morning. I'm sitting in Starbucks. I'm going to keep reading if that's all right. Jazz is not cool. It is noisy and intrusive, and the saxophone is super annoying. Clashes with the howl and sputter of coffee makers, and the voices, conversation, alerts announcing drink orders, now trumpet blast in the same piece of music, now a slide trombone. I see two very attractive women of Pan-Asian features, one possibly Thai or Filipino, one with lighter skin, wider cheekbone space, maybe Japanese. Pale misty gray, obscuring the horizon, I can see through the front windows of this a soupy blanket upon urbanization of the central Texas prairie land, the badge of afterthought to the influx of business that seems to have quintupled the population of Austin. If this is progress, take me to the river. Too many people, too much information. Life is too noisy, too chaotic. Walden Pond in our souls, if we can discipline ourselves to carry it with us through the storm of steel and glass and plastic. But even the idols are becoming showpieces. This is the pond, this is the woodland. These are animals and plants, such as one may find in the wild. Point me to the wilderness center. I want to be a resident of the natural state, where we pay no dues for membership, no taxes for revitalization or restoration projects. Wherein our competition is the whole of creation. No need to carve out a niche in the marketplace, stake a claim of ownership with an intent of exploitation, wherein all who can pay can benefit from whatever we think we have discovered. Screw a load of that. A planet is a self-regenerating organism. It is real, and it will reclaim what has been taken and mutated. People, you are too fucking loud. I apologize. Thank you.
There's sort of a theme here. I'm liking it too. It's about consciousness and being conscious of your place here on the planet. I used to hang out with people from a meetup, and they would do stuff. They would do intentional communities, is what we would be talking about. And this one guy happens to live in my neighborhood. I live in that wild and woolly North Austin. Yes, the north, maybe as far as Sunderland. But anyway, there's the guy that I talked to that did this meetup is taking back, reclaiming the world piece by piece as much as he can, and inviting us all to do that. And what he did was his back fence faces North Lamar. He whitewashed it, and he wrote, "Beauty will save the world." And that's one small thing, but it's one small thing one person can do. We're all one, we're all people. We can each take back the world a little bit at a time. I've got some short poems that have absolutely nothing to do with that. So, short poem number 1, payment. Payment is only due my creditors, my own neglected. Harrogate, that's where I live. You should move there if you love it so much. There are other circumstances. Are there always circumstances? Is there ever a good time? I look longingly at the picture on my desktop. That's where I see my England most of the time. Travel. I am drinking coconut from the Amazon with green tea leaves from Asia. My desire for international travel is squashed. Let's see. Reset. 2 words. End battles, clear rooms, reset clocks, back to before. 2 words. It's so easy to utter, you're right. Goodbye. I used to be a hospice volunteer. I will always remember the hopelessness in your eyes, the hurt for a life lost, of an end without comfort or companionship. Then you looked at me and said goodbye. I had no idea you really meant it.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I need to leave on a much lighter note, but I don't have anything else. So you're safe. Anyway, thanks.
This is actually the hat I wear when I go down the road with my convertible. And believe it or not, it stays on at 70, 75 miles an hour.
Wow.
And I get the strangest looks from people. And I don't see very many people that wear hats like this going down Western Highway. This is kind of funny. This is actually for tomorrow. There's your chicken. I'm going to go to Jenny's tomorrow and have a little fun. So, both of these poems have a common theme. I like to write things that kind of hopefully inspire our youth and well, anyway, I'll just keep reading. It's called PC Beach Transcendental Medication Harmony. Morning poetic peace sailing surf sounds into reflective sails. Rippling canvas of mind melts, traversing cerebral cortex oceans. Quill currents in reflective composure within neural pathways. Tingling sixth sense sensations, networks bearing medicinal cleansing. The magical seashores, sound traces, tuning of inflective harmonies, wherein the poetic chord resonates as duality, resilience in composure. Around nature's surrounding mixture of elements, adrift active gray matter. Navigating sensory motor stimulus of reflective stimuli in PC Beach Transcendental Meditation Harmony. This one is called Levitation of Gray Matters. Dig into the veins of terse words that tears eyes open, where insight sears seashore lines, vibrating a quill's heartbeat in what poetry is about. That power penetration point of dynamic dimension deliveries, raining down composition, levitating on gray matter. Thank you.
Coming up to speed, like do a little poetry. This is, excuse me, a little hoarse. This is a very short title poem from my play Among Amazons. An innocent among Amazons, writing poetry in the dark, I strain my assaulted eyes and mind to place myself in a world, any world. I wonder at that, but I know why I bloom on the wall and construct my own town. Thank you. Okay, these are a couple of comical songs. I hope you'll find these from my musical Chanteuse. Songs from Chanteuse available at Bookwoman and Waterloo Records. Thank you. They're not all the songs are comical or satirical, but like these two. This isn't the one I planned. We'll do this one. Oh, never fear my Maggie fair, be it ever so mighty a gale. I'll soon be returning to Greenland when we have caught the whale. twice from nose to tail. We'll harvest ambergris and scrimshaw when we have caught the whale. When we did cast off from Liverpool, we soberly set sail to leave sweethearts and wives behind to battle with the whale. Never fear, never fear, be it ever so much. He's getting ahead of me. We have caught the whale. When we have caught the whale. Never mind. We have caught the whale. When we have caught the whale. When we have caught the whale. You know, I would like to save the whales, but where would I put them?
Yeah.
Bathtub.
No, that guitar arrangements and performance are by Richard Paul Thomas of Salado. He also produced the CD. Let's see where. Okay. This one is my Broadway song. In the play, Johanna and Darcy go to New York to be folk singers in the 60s, and their careers and friendships diverge. And Johanna becomes this big star almost overnight, and she's appearing in Carnegie Hall, and she's not caring about the great issues of the day, the civil rights and the H-bomb falling on everybody and all that. So she goes back to the 1930s and sings this song. Sorry. When the market crashed and all seemed despair, my brave dada didn't pull his hair. Depression's not so bad if you're still a millionaire. And he told me what to do if I should ever have a care. He said, take your troubles to Broadway and leave them in the second row. Take your troubles to Broadway, it's the surest quick release I know. Now you can sit down front row center if there you want to sit. Please don't drop your beat and hang back in the orchestra pit. And take your troubles to Broadway and leave them in the second row. Take your troubles to Broadway, you can lose them in a Ziegfeld show. But there's a spot of socialite should never be seen. One wouldn't be caught dead in the mezzanine. Take your troubles to Broadway and leave them in the second row. Take your troubles to Broadway and leave them in the second row. You can lose them as a culture. Lyrics here. Troubles to Broadway. Take your troubles to Broadway. You know my dada told me so. And he said if you must go slumming in the balcony, please don't bring your riffraff friends back to the house for tea. And take your troubles to Broadway and leave them in the second row. Take your troubles to old Broadway. Choreography.
I know where you'll be. Tucked in an armchair, hiding from daylight, folded up, waiting for me. Oh, you've been here since dawn with your eye on the room, watching everyone else pass through. And then I arrive, oh, you're in my arms, I spend the rest of my day with you. And you read me my horoscope and talk about the rain. All the time we are together, life is just a game. I walk into the cafe, I go straight to the back. If you're in here, I know where you'll be. Sprawled on an armchair, hiding from daylight, folded up, waiting for me. Oh, you've been here since dawn with that glint in your eye that nobody else can see. And then I arrive, oh, you're in my arms, you spend the rest of your day with me. And you read me my horoscope and talk about the sun. All the time we are together, life is just for fun. Your face is empty, let me fill it with a smile. This place is empty, let us just relax a while. Oh, oh, you read me my horoscope and talk about the weather. Life has everything I need as long as we're together. Is this a twofer, two at a time?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, there was kind of that like existential theme we had earlier, and I've got one I just wrote that fits in with that. And you know, it's not about welcoming, or it's not about wanting to die, it's about not being afraid to. Like living so well that you die really well, too. Yeah. Every time I breathe, I realize I've been dying since the day I was born, and nothing will convince me to close my eyes. I'm already beginning to see the light. All the stars within me will fill the night. I'm not afraid to die. Living well means letting go, with tiny confident steps in the dark, and nothing will convince me to close my eyes. I'm already beginning to see the light. All the stars within me will fill the night. I'm not afraid to assure you I've got a gentle touch. I was careful as I picked it off the floor. I took it in and cared for it like it was my own. This wanderer's been alone before. It's a timid and a restless thing of beauty. It's the ragged round the edges I adore. And we go to the seaside to wash ourselves in dreams that come ashore. And time together's holy. This heart is feeling stronger than before. Closer to the sun, you may be blinded. So I tied it to a string and let it soar. I held it tightly just to feel it beating. And then I let it go and loved you more. And we go to the seaside to wash ourselves in dreams that come ashore. And time together's holy. This heart is feeling stronger than before. You're carrying the pieces of a broken heart. We must have dropped one walking past my door. I held it tightly just to feel it beating. Then I let it go and loved you more.
My name is Amelia Love, and I have some stuff online if you want to hear any of that again. You can go to amelialove.com and get free. Thanks.
I'm just touching my stuff here. Just before she goes, does she want to do another encore for people attending later? Do you want to play more songs? No, she's not. Thank you so much for your first public performance, Grace. Are you sure you would know?
Excellent.
You are free. Happiness to you. Thank you.
Just excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, Grace. What'd you say your name?
Amelia, Love.
Okay. Scott?
Yeah.
Amelia, Peter, Brian,
Louise.
Louise, Ben, Chris. Welcome.
Yes.
Oh, I don't get that's Mike V and Thom out there, you know them. So I feel like it's been a long time since I've been up here. A lot has happened at this point. So here goes. I've come to these things, these events, these gatherings, these communities. I've come to these things before I went to them, when I would lay on my floor and hear Shakespeare, or when I would lay between the beds and hear the radio. But only tonight have I actually figured out what it is. I, Scout's honor, I fall in love with voices. And sometimes they're men's voices, sometimes they're women's voices, sometimes they're rock voices, sometimes they're bird voices. And it's on a night like this that I know life is so grand. It is so brilliantly grand. An open mic night when souls come out of their shell and sing and say, "This is who I am." And nothing can be heard but machinery. Because the soul wants to be heard. And when the ears fall into it and they spin around, around, and round in circles, I know what the Dharma wheel means. It's to hear, it's to listen, it's to let go, it's to speak. I fall in love with voices because when I hear them, I am the flesh of the one singing. Life is so grand. The fingertips don't even need to touch to feel somebody else's body. You can feel their heart beating in yours as they let the sounds come out. It's all so grand. All we have to do is be quiet and not go anywhere. I love open mic poetry nights because I can sit with my coffee or not at all, and everything passes by. We hear about flowers, we hear about fate, we hear about strangers, we hear about love. It's all so grand. Thank you for sharing your soul with me and letting me get into that part of you that does the speaking and does the coming out, and it's all right here. It's all so grand. I am so in love with y'all's voices that you have the courage and the soul and the opportunity to share them and sing them. It's all so grand. Thank you.
Okay, since everybody is absolutely breathlessly waiting to hear my voice, this is a poem called The Seeds of Service, Aspiration. Some poems request or demand a little bit of comment because the poem itself is an encapsulated version of what is to be said. It could be a boring lecture, but as a poem, hopefully, it fits a wider range of understanding or sympathy from the listener. So aspiration is what we're born with. If we're lucky, it's a simple aspiration. If you're John Lennon or something, Don wrote music for. The vast majority of people wander around wondering what they could be doing. How come I'm so good at this and I love it and I'm not making a nickel? And so on.
It's poetry.
But in fact, if you look back, we were in pretty good shape before we wanted to get up and wander around and build and take the rocks and make something constructive. We swung around, and if we were hungry, opened our mouth and the food swung in. And we never got out of breath because we didn't breathe. We never got tired, or we never hurt ourselves because we were not subject to gravity. And in that idyllic state of living, how come we couldn't stand it? We had to somehow or other crawl out onto the rough rocks, and where there are things that eat you, and somehow or other evolve and develop to where we became masters of that situation. How can we be masters of elephants and stuff? The fact is that within the soul there is an aspiration. We're given the urge to do something. I believe, just believe I'm aware of multiple incarnations progressively that we have. And each one, look at it this way. You are not a fat person, a thin person, a pretty girl, or a dried up old man. You are, here's you, perfect. The soul, higher self, totally and completely given to serve, and don't know whether or not you know what it is. And then, in order to serve, you must experience. Experience equals life. There are no moral issues. You do what you do because you are what you are at that particular moment, but you won't be that for long. You're going to grow. So the people you hate, well, the people you hate is because you see in them what you see in yourself and are not willing to admit. So here we are. And the fact is that service is what we're here for. It's not a very good explanation, but that's all I got. The seeds of service. It's called the seeds of service, otherwise aspiration. The seeds of service in the soul are sown, then in this grateful garden grown. All that we know in the physical breed, we want, we need, we fail, we succeed. As steward, the world is offered to me in part. Now, facing this, I do not feel so smart. Can offer humbly only my whole heart. Well, I guess at least that is a start. But then a paralysis of fear. What is it I must do? Why am I here? The fire burns fiercely, but the light is dim. The soul says, what's happening? To serve our purpose, we, mankind, must act. To be free and content, we must share. That is fact. Then we'll eliminate false guilt and fear, and all our wants and needs will disappear. So let's work together, cooperate. Pretty soon it'll be too late. The road has been rough, we've got off track. But He is come to guide us back. The better day is on its way. Have faith in new beginnings. Open hearts and open minds give access to a cosmos kind. Give it a kicker on this poem. Everybody gets food there. Tree full of monkeys. Quietness in the mind. What a gift that would be to a person with a mind like monkeys in a tree. Someone like me.
Oh, no, they're good. Just kidding. Okay, I have 3 cats. This Mocha Cappuccino and 2 of her sons, Giancarlo Cappuccino, and I shouldn't and I didn't mean that, by the way. And Salvatore Cappuccino. And the strange thing about her kittens, half of them, and she only has small litters, 2 or 3 at a time, but half of all the kittens she gave birth to, and I finally got them fixed even though they weren't broken, half of her kittens had crooked tails. Giancarlo is a black cat and his tail makes a number 7. So one of his nicknames is number 7, along with Loverboy. And Salvatore is an orange tabby, and he has, stripes like tabbies have. And the end of his tail reminds me of a rattlesnake rattler, so one of his nicknames is Rattler. I wrote this poem, I don't know why, about 2 in the morning one time when I couldn't get to sleep. Giancarlo likes to sleep back to back with me, and this is about that. But I swear we're just good friends. Spine to spine. Back to back, spine to spine, mine to yours, yours to mine. Many vertebrae align, human ridge onto feline. My heart beats, so does thine. The 2 of us so incline, species twain yet combine. As beings warm we intertwine. Ape and cat fit I opine, for Africa drew each design. Felid small and hominid line. So in repose we now recline, and both snooze till 9:30. Thank you. This one, I think I wrote this one as a teenager, and I was remembering when I was very little. It's called the back porch. Impressions of early childhood. Prone on the porch, I watched as my mother hung clothes against the sky. Feeling the cool slab caressing my bare stomach, chest, and chin, I faced a scampering pillbug eye to eye, then took him up in a ball to the popsicle wrapper with his friends. Now on my back, hanging my head over the smooth porch's rough edge, and looking straight skyward, miles above the drooping banana plant leaf, I was peering down from a concrete ledge, observing some cotton puff ships circumnavigating a cirrus cloud reef. Turning on my side, propping my jaw in my hand with my elbow, catching a quick shadow which turned into a great brown grackle. I saw the bird swoop to the cottonwood below. Its cement mixer voice drawled on its way from the telephone line with a crackle. Pondering the world, all was cool cement, swift breeze, and sunlight. In the late morning, everything was what the senses felt and saw and heard. From the shaded back porch, all appeared to be bright in that innocent age of no time and no deed and no word. Thank you.
So first of all, if you're out there somewhere, I'd like to offer my sincere apology to the young family who's in here with the bright and blessed young violinist who's up here. I don't censor myself. I don't ask for permission, but I do ask forgiveness for being insensitive to the presence. So those dear young ladies, please accept my apologies. I was thinking about, I guess there's some kind of a running theme going on. A lot of people are talking about loss, about existentialism. Sometimes there is something really wonderful about a very deep, involved, heavy piece of work, but there's something very, very special and unique about shorter things. People of short stature, musical instruments with few strings.
Yeah.
Okay, before I embarrass myself much further, I just want to read a couple of pieces that really speak to loss and of the recognition of beauty in short things. So these are like a couple of pieces. And again, this was a theme that was running through The Dog Stars by Peter Heller. Go read it. The main character of the story, his name is Hig. He's a pilot. And he's a big fan of Chinese poetry, and so am I, as it turns out. So I've been dealing with a lot of my own loss, and this book in particular, and these two pieces of poetry that were in the book. Just really say it all, and I'm just going to go ahead and share them. They say everything that I'm feeling right now. The first one was written by I believe he was a 9th century Chinese poet named Li Po, who was known as much for his alcoholism as he is for his poetry. I lift my head from the pillow. I see the frosted moon. I lower it down, and I think of home. And in this poem, I'm thinking, what is it that the narrator is lowering down? Is he lowering his head to the pillow? Is he trying to lower the moon as a representation of home? Although they say, the finger may point to the moon, but the finger is not the moon. Or could it be, and that also ties into to a flashback scene in the book where a character's wife has contracted this really vicious pandemic disease, and there's like no cure, and she asks her husband to lower a pillow over her head and take her life. Yeah, that was morbid. Okay, I'm just moving on. The next poem, I can't remember the name of the poet. Also Chinese. And I think this might wrap it up for me tonight. When will I be home? I don't know. In the mountains, in the rainy night, the autumn lake is flooded. Someday we will be back together again. We will sit in the candlelight of the west window, and I will tell you how I remembered you tonight on the stormy mountain.
This is to Yama Dharma Raja. I am going straight to Yama Dharma Raja and speaking to this fierce face the absolute truth about the felled ignorance upon the brow. Looking through that reflective device, this deity holds and upholding that scratched call of names that slate bears. Energy of past times chew open the gates of hell, and what is worn is the shorn soul hatched by the rhyming bell. So what has been done with the vigor of ignorance shall portion my battle loss and win something for one another day. Ox-headed interpreter calls that snake reflecting our inhibitor, shouts a name strung out by an unforgotten sapper. A personal trial mirrors the world's style. As in the bilious venom coursing in the dwelling of the unforgotten, forcing the foot to step upon that loved path rotten, hell's awesome ridicule smite the soul's jugular.
Oh, that's no more. There's no more. I'm sorry. I always jump the gun.
And furthermore, to the bare-headed figure holding a bellows, a stuttering blast of shocking cellos to stand against the hot air fellows. Profound and shaking hands leave the boar-headed cemetery, spirit well fed, standing over death's pale canny to a cemetery's wail, spiking revenge from the enemy's carnivorous binge. And with hammer in hand, that lion-headed Buddha withstands our soul's plea to flee from a nail offered for a sealing grace. What more can one face?
Interrupted you there. That's right. Okay.
I didn't know if you knew you can go again.
Oh yeah, please.
One,
we can put
one
one
was
down
poppy.
for the ukulele.
I think that one's less poppy. Yeah.
There you go.
I have two songs about the ocean.
Hey.
Do two songs about the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. You are the shadow, I am the wind, movement in darkness, together again. Always come back, come back, come back to me. Come back, come back, come back to me. Come back, come back, come back to me. Thank you. There's some more left, isn't there? All these songs about oceans, man. Exactly. Exactly. This is the newest one, so it's probably the roughest. I really like it. I wrote it I went to Hawaii recently and I got this uke. Of course. About the uke. And I wrote this song kind of about the islands. But it's also a love song because of it. Do you want me closer, or are you pushing me? I know the tide will ebb and flow, there are no changes on the breeze. They say no man's an island, but I have to disagree. Now will I rest on golden shores or sail back out to sea? It was a long time coming to you. You are stranded in the middle of a deep blue. I was drawn in effortlessly, but now the tide's pushing me. I heard about an island washing golden light, but I never imagined a sweeter paradise. I let go of my maps and depended on the tide. Now will I rest on golden shores, sail into the night? It was a long time coming to you. You are stranded in the middle of a deep blue. I was drawn in effortlessly, but now the tide's pushing me. Now will I rest on golden shores, sail back out to sea? It was a long time coming to you. You are stranded in the middle of a deep blue. I was drawn in effortlessly, but now the tide's pushing me. But now the tide is pushing me.
if before the beginning, when you were in that amorphous state, one with all the other unborn souls, the doctor had asked, do you want to come into this world? You will not know where. You will not know how. It may be in Bangkok to a poor fisherman. It may be to a pipe fitter in the middle of Pasadena. Would you choose to do it? If the doctor said, you will experience pain, you will experience suffering, your heart will break probably many times over, but you will also know love, true and divine. You'll hang your nails on things. You'll scrape your knee. You'll lose your job. You may get beaten or battered by some others. Would you say, yes, I want to be born to that? And in that epiphany moment, the doctor says, choose. The magical thing, and I say magical because I have a fondness for magical realism. Borges and others. The magical thing is, you did, yet we have forgotten it. Somewhere along the line between the pre-birth and the now, many people have forgotten that they said yes to that question. Once we know that we said yes, even though we didn't know what the outcome would be, we can be here. We can be here full of heart, loving it, even if we disappear again and die in a far-off land to which we know not how or why. How magical that somewhere between the pre-birth and the now then and the later always, we're here for a moment in a quiet room with people sharing our ideas in the space and saying goodbye to it. It's beautiful. You take it off?
I thought you seen the rain coming out. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I didn't want to get my car flooded.
Now, you heard about those conspiracies, right? People always say they're watching you. Well, at least that part of the conspiracy is true. They are watching you. They're watching every move you make. They calculate every breath you take. They know where you're going at night. They actually know your whole schedule because they spend the nights searching through your trash for information about you. Man, you should have shredded up those credit card statements. The seasoned trash picker can find your information in more unorthodox ways. Oh, look at this half-eaten McDonald's burger. It tastes about 13 hours old. That means he goes to McDonald's on his lunch break. Oh, a discarded bottle of Vicodin. So he must be a pill popper. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if it was just one person digging through your trash. But it's so many people digging through your trash, finding information on you, so they can relay it back to their gossip correspondents in the newsroom, just to be the center of attention. I was chilling with a friend some years back, and he proceeded to tell a story about me macking to some chick in the club. I was like, oh, hell no. I was the one that put in work and did the actual macking. So I deserve the glory to tell the story, not you. The watchers, hating, contemplating, manipulating. They're with you around every corner, watching your every move. Maybe they're lost and believe you know what's going on. They're watching you at the family picnic when you did the tricks with the balloons. Yeah, the kids like that trick. They're watching you. Of course, you seen the way you cupped the joint inwards so the cops could see it. She hasn't thought of that. They're watching you, your every groove. Maybe they want to copy you. Or maybe they want to turn you into dog food. Some say that hate is confused admiration. In order for someone to hate you that much, they have to be thinking about you at least 8 hours a day average. Man, that's a lot of hours and a lot of energy. I hate you so much, I would get stressed out and lose sleep and catch diabetes over you. I hate you so much that I would die for you. Well, hell, that sounds like love to me.
A couple of poems from my play Among Amazons. Takes place in the 70s, the disco era. As I like to say, more looking for Mr. Goodbar than Saturday Night Fever. "1977. It's 1977 and still you can cut the grass smoke with an axe. Bodies reeling, weaving, dipping, rocking and sliding toward oblivion. The world on the verge of what? More tomorrows? Certainly. It will do its 5 billion revolutions. It will last the sun. We can sleep our nights in peace for that, but that only. All else looms a blank. All will pass this week or next or the third millennium. But the now, oh, but the now, speck in time, a moment's eternity. This is the eve of what hidden dawn. The whole 4 billion souls wait for a trolley already late." Thank you. There were only 4 billion people in 1977?
Yeah.
I think that's true. It's about 7 billion. Wow. And this one is the core of the play. The main character, Laura Sabanel, is a poet. She comes from New Mexico and she goes to San Francisco to kind of see the world outside of her own hometown. Well, she went to college, but right out of college she decided to take the trip west. And when she goes there, she sees this scene, which is actually a suite of poems I call Ellis Street Suite. A little girl just under 6 feet shuffles swiftly between painted towers, stalking down Ellis Street. How much less bogus are you than they? Does your wry smile betray a lingering insecurity? Shy little girl pushing 30. Who could imagine even you could be a total virgin? Yet here you go, through Proposition Alley and down Queens Row. This is the crucible in the bowels of the Tenderloin. Here there are a few smiles, but many sneers. Here expressions are jaded, faded, and blank, but for sly, dissecting eyes. Here you must survive the glares. Here you must pass. You cannot escape the scrutiny of the derelict hustler, merchant, addict, prostitute, tourist, closet queen, waitress, monster of countless eyes and absent heart. You're so together today, little fox. You shine so, you flash the sun back on himself, and your beautiful soul eclipses your petty flaws. This afternoon you hear, "Hey, pretty lady, girl, you got fine legs. Where you going, mama?" You pass sternly by and smile to yourself. Don't lie. You know you do, little fox. The street echoes a Dylan refrain. The street moans of desolation. The street screams of each new ripoff. The street is the world, the environment, the home, the shelter, the cave, the cage. Shy little girl, just under 6 feet. You can be hometown sweetheart if you make it on Ellis Street. Thank you.
Change of pace, romance, fantasy. So swift you came, you have disappeared, like some magic vanishing trick, a bubbling brew, a trifle weird. My heart beats quick, my breath came thick. I felt at loss, then I recalled to love is not like that at all. Love is a gift of liberty, dichotomy, to bind together and thus to set free. My heart is open wide to you. You're free to stay or go or do. And as you roll quiet byways through, reflect how precious love is true. I hold your face cupped in my hand. I close my eyes to better see who walks barefoot on golden sands. The perfect pair. It's one. It's we. Pink lace. All in pink, my head spins, I can't think. I'm all in a whirl, it is she, it's my girl. It's her lips on my face, oh my Lord. It's pink lace. Rushes off, jumps in shower, screams, come back, dripping wet and shiver. Cool quiet of afternoon, pause of day twixt sun and moon. Time for reminiscence. Your head rests on my firm chest. We ride each crest of peaceful breath. Hold each other, come life, come death. Eyes closed on smiling faces. Spirits flying to heavenly places. Divine satisfaction. Your face turns up to look at me. We wake from pleasant fantasy and kiss until eternity. Slumber in peace. Gazed at you, so pure, amazed at you, and as you slept, your forehead gently kissed. A pause in time I felt, and thus I wished. Rest in safety, slumber in peace. So quiet the night carrying you. What music do I hear? I don't resist. the power, the purity, the moon, the mist drifting down, a never-ending feast. How precious, though dimly lit, each memory, heavenly colors, fading faintly into fantasy, dim but deeply discernible in the reverie. I remember haunting melodies, lower tones, minor keys, but magical music, mystically moving, so it will never let us go. I remember the diffused light presenting against the wall her gentle, soft outline, accenting the subtle shine of the long jet black hair, silky fine. I remember how gracefully she turned, moved across the tatami with totally unself-conscious poise, came to me in those eternal seconds, ecstatically. I could see I had never loved before so totally. And to the inevitable, leaving, breaking up. Don't bother creeping around, because I won't be sleeping. Take what you want. There ain't much here worth keeping. We realize that it's time. We've just got to be going, drifted apart. That's the hell of the thing about growing. Look back, see the road we've left, littered with diamonds and gold. Looking forward, it's blank. Just realizing I've really grown old. But the joy you brought into my life since we first met is the priceless commodity old age can't make me free.
Whispering through this planet's flora and fauna. There's a single vibration that permeates our existence like the heartstrings of birds and butterflies begging to be strummed, that in return they may sing secrets through fingertips, that we may better know what it means to fly. But I fall to my knees a few times a day to bow to my father, a precious son. Could we not have called it that galactic heartbeat daughter? We are our children's children, a royalty in flesh and blood. This moment there are some 7 billion human hearts pitter-pattering that same steady drum beat. Slow down. Feel the wind. Let this air hold you like skin. Breathe in. We are the embodiment of the Holy Spirit, the breath of life of Gaia, Mother Earth, the Milky Way, and everything beyond. You are God. I am God. We are all God, the soul keepers. This collective reality and individual perspective are framed by these perfectly imperfect vessels, and I burn this body given to me with a crumb of speculation to make it last, that that it may bring light to the darkness of aging. Positive, the poet prophets of past had probably been enlightened, but I hope that I am far from enlightened. I see enlightenment as an attainment. This life is a process, an unfolding understanding. I am striving to enlighten, to share with intensity this inner flame. Our purpose is to perpetuate the posterity of this heaven, to bask in its crowning glories and inscribe halos above and the co-creation of these circles. Beyond these words, beyond the Trinity, these moments are our immortality.
Thank you. I have a request. I never get requests, except get off the stage. But anyway, your ukulele, your songs are so wonderful. And the last song you sang, the newest one, about the sea and the waves and all that. There's a situation comedy, a British situation comedy that they ran on PBS a few months ago, called The Cafe. And it's just kind of a low-key thing, maybe not a big blockbuster like Downton Abbey or anything. It's about a young woman who aspires to be a writer, and her mother runs a seaside cafe, and all the quirky people come in and out. But one thing I really love about it is the song they chose as the theme song was the old French song La Mer, or Beyond the Sea, which I believe was written by Charles Aznavour.
Yes.
But it was a big hit for Bobby Darin.
Yep.
And I remember it from about the year 1960, when there was a movie called On the Beach, which was set in Australia. Melbourne, Australia. And it was the last group of people on Earth after a nuclear war.
Go to Australia.
Right. It's far away from the rest of the world. And I believe that Fred Astaire, this was one of his last roles he was in. And it was a drama, and people discussed it in churches and newspaper editorials. And the song itself is very haunting. Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands, and never again I'll go sailing. And then I like to do it in fake French. Je sens la pluie j'avoue, quand les gens sont abus, le crayon la pluie, je sais les rues en son Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you. But the reason you reminded me of that was they do it with a ukulele. And so it's just a single voice, lovely voice like yours with a ukulele, and it's just a beautiful version of that song. And since you really requested it, I do some more of my stuff. All right. I'll do the one I was going to do before another song intervened. I'll do this. As I stumble, clumsy the giant. So the main character is the chanteuse, from Texas. Johanna and Darcy's, they go up to Greenwich Village and become folk singers. And they sing some traditional songs at first, but then they start writing their own stuff. And they get a little cocky, and they do this one kind of making fun of the people back home in Texas. They say this is how people would do it back home, our adventures in the big city. You can never get a taxi in the rain, and it just ain't no use to complain. As you watch your mascara flow lightly down the drain, no, you'll never get a taxi in the rain. Well, I left my car back in Texas. They said it's no use in New York, that someone will strip it or steal it or rip it or tow it away when I park. Manhattan is just a small island. You could walk it in one afternoon, but I wouldn't do it. You might not live through it and find yourself mugged by some goon, and you'll never get a taxi in the rain. And it just ain't no use to complain as you watch your mascara flow lightly down the drain. No, you'll never get a taxi in the rain. And you just can't depend on the buses. They're rarely, if ever, on time. And don't take the subway, that jostle and rubway, or you might be attacked by some slime, and you'll never get a taxi in the rain. And it just ain't no use to complain as you watch your mascara flow lightly down the drain. No, you'll never get a taxi in the rain. Thank you.
All right.
And I'll do one more, something more in a more serious name. This is a title song from Chanteuse. Johanna goes on and she becomes a big star. It's a tortoise and hare sort of thing. She becomes a big star, crashes and burns. Her friend Darcy slowly but steadily gets a following, and she becomes a star in her own right in women's music. And she sticks to her guns and fights the good fight, and she sings about the great issues of the day while her friend, winds up. Oh, they're both fans of Edith Piaf, and unfortunately, Johanna winds up living the life of those tortured torch songs of Edith Piaf. The song of the sparrow cried to me through the night. One day I knew I'd follow. Was I right? Did I do right? Shall I tell of tragic love, unrequited or torn asunder? Shall I coo it like a dove, or let it crack like thunder? Or would you hear of carousels and all the joy there is? Or come with me now as I dwell on the sad life, on the real life, as I sing about the poor people of Paris. I am your chanteuse, yours to use within your heart, but I've never been in love, and I don't know how to start. Shall I sing of secret hopes lovers everywhere can share, of perfumed letters sealed in envelopes, telling someone how they care? Or do you like your anthems bold, proclaiming passions to the stars? Or weeping sighs of love grown cold, the sharing gone, the battle done, in the aftermath, with nothing left but the scars? I am your chanteuse, and I lose myself in song, but beyond this cabaret, tell me, where do I belong? I just exist in cabarets. I only live in my songs. Thank you.
Life is a strange little microbe and a particle that does not last long. The gap between the elements is larger than the actual mass of the molecular structure itself. Who's next?
All right.
Okay. Ukulele.
Because each of those molecules might as well be a planet.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll sing a song about the moon. Yeah.
Three poets went up to capture the moon. What they forgot was the words had holes in them, and that's why the moon is silent. There's a poet on the moon tonight, but he's actually a mime artist, and he's a she. On the dark side, don't go there. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock we have Hot Mums. At 4 o'clock we have Austin Riders Roulette, which is based on Superman Father's Day. At 5 o'clock we have a new venue, the Counterculture Cafe, done by Ajari the poet, and it's open mic. Ajari is running his own venue. And 7 o'clock we have Kick Butt, Spoken and Heard, 577 Highway. 4 venues tomorrow. This one is every Saturday night, depending upon your delightful continuity. Has anyone stolen a watch recently?
That's a way of asking for the time.
Exactly.
It's 9 o'clock straight up.
Oh, 9 o'clock straight up. Well, we thank you, Alicia, very, very much. Thank you, all the poets. Is there anyone screaming to be heard? Mike, you haven't been heard, have you? Did you want it? That's a really good. Mike D, genius poet. Really nice. Good stuff. Just before you go, I gotta tell you, I got this email from Yorkshire, from Trevor, and he said, I'm doing an automobileography of my Texas time at the Poetry Festival, and I want to put the right words in about Mike D. And he said, how can I describe Mike D? I said, well, how would you describe Mike D? He said, well, laid back. And I said, well, you're a poet. There are more words that you can use other than laid back. You can say casual, loquacious, wise, and wondrous. And he picked casual. So in Yorkshire, you are casual Mike D.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of that casual is not, you know, it's not 100% me. You know, I do have help sometimes, and then what's this one? Sometimes I wonder, what's the use of getting high? I mean, back in the day, it used to be a secret taboo art, performed at secret ritualistic locations, like the bathroom of your best friend's house, or somewhere deep in the woods, away from the long arm of the law. Now everybody is doing it, in the most public of places, like the city park, or the downtown alleyway, desecrating such a pure and holy ritual. You remember when you were the only one in your family who smoked? And your moms are smoking, your grandmother is smoking, your co-workers are smoking, your boss is smoking, and even your probation officer is probably smoking. Why do you think she keeps giving you a break when your urine analysis is dirty? It's because she understands. I was riding with a friend the other day, and he had the nerves to smoke a joint driving down the highway with the windows down. What? Are you serious? Whatever happened to the sacred art of hotboxing? Remember we had creative places to hide the weed, like the AC ducts? Yeah, I know it's hot as hell, but don't turn on the AC. Use the fan. Whatever happened to the shotgun or the charge? Whatever happened to smoking from an apple or a hat? Now they have all these fancy pipes and bongs and hookahs now. I remember back in the day when even scoring a bag of weed was a sacred martial art. You had to go in the neighborhoods you never wanted to go into. You had to make friends with flaky people you never wanted to be friends with. And seeing a person with a hoodie and a ski mask kept you conflicted. He could be robbing somebody, or he could be scoring a bag. Back in the day, scoring a bag was ninja training, hopping over barbed wire fences, mastering different languages and codes so the dealer knew you wasn't a narc. Now you can walk down the street and ask any random homeless man for a bag and he probably has it. Smoking has become a defunct art form, and I point the blame solely to the pot nerds. Oh, marijuana has medicinal properties. It can give you an appetite, and it can relieve stress. You want the purple, the blue, or the white? You want a head high or a body high? The beauty of getting high was not knowing which high you was going to get. Back then, the only reasons I smoked was to have fun and to make bad music sound good. Now the average, everyday person blazes. I can't even tell people I smoke weed and seem like a badass for saying it. We need to bring the art back to getting high before it's lost in the wind forever.
No poetry is ever finished. It just resumes somewhere else at a different time. Thanks to Scott, this will continue back at 6 o'clock next Saturday night. But before then, there's a whole lot of things on the little invitations that you've all got. And we're hoping that everyone runs their own mic so they can do their own world much better than listening to anybody else. So above all, remember this.
You have that song about you're playing chess and I'm playing checkers downstairs, right?
You want?
I want to get the CD, some of the CDs.
Yep.
I think I heard you play at Thom's. Is that true? Did you play at Thom's together?
Yeah. Maybe, well,
Amy,
no,
was
I
it one
don't,
of Amy's showcase kind of?
I didn't sing any of the showcase. Oh, no, I was in backup singing one of the showcase. But I didn't sing up front. Amy and I sang, but we were the only two in the place that time. Yeah. Is a ukulele easier to learn than guitar?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll get a ukulele.
That's what I'm thinking about, getting it.
Such a beautiful instrument.
There's so many different ways to play it, too.
Fresh words.
Well, I can deal with 4 strings because I play the viola.
Yes, you got 4 fingers. That's perfect.
Yeah.
When I first got one, I was looking for just a small size guitar. Because the big one just seems so big. And then I saw that one, I'm like, oh, not only is it small, but it has less strings. It's perfect.